We're also handing over now to Markwe to take it from there. Markwe?
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I don't have a problem if you go too far. Just let the people who have been elected do the work that they've been elected to do. We're just changing attention now to some of the problems that the people who have been elected have to tackle, which is the problem of the environment. And only recently we did see pictures, very disturbing pictures, of floods in certain coastal communities, particularly Lagos. And we also saw in Niger State, in Suleja more precisely, where 10 lives were reportedly lost. And to talk about, how it is we can prevent this, if it's preventable, is the DG of NIMET, Professor Sani Mashi, who is the current DG. You're welcome to Sunrise
Thank you
TV.
very much, and nice meeting you.
Same here, sir. So quickly, you've been at NIMET now. Is it for 4 months, or did you resume in January?
6 months. I resumed in January.
You resumed in January, okay, because there was a little controversy as to whether or not you were going to resume in January.
Yeah, there was actually a transition. So we are under a transition for 3 months.
Okay.
But I have been there since January, so which means I'm on my 7th month now.
Okay.
3 months of transition and 4 months now of takeover now.
What are some of the major challenges that NIMET currently perceives with the environment?
Thank you very much. Like you all know, climate is dynamic. It's always changing. Climate has been changing since time immemorial. Why climate has to change is because the entire phenomena of climate is controlled by what operates within the atmosphere. And atmosphere has a number of constituents, some things that are inside that make up the atmosphere. These constituents, they don't remain static, they change. If they change, it means automatically atmosphere must change. So that is why climate naturally is supposed to change. But what has been happening, the activities of human beings have now been forcing the constitution of the atmosphere to change beyond the natural way in which they are supposed to change. So as human activities are forcing this constituent to change rapidly, climate is changing rapidly. And as the climate is changing rapidly, you are now having massive distortions of over what is happening in the world. In some places that have been witnessing dryness for long, you discover that now they will start experiencing what they have not been interested. They will start witnessing flooding. Areas that have not been witnessing dryness, they will start witnessing dryness. For instance, a major consequence of this is that the temperature is increasing because the environment is getting hotter. And as the temperature is increasing, all the ice is now gradually melting. And you know the ice are in the polar regions. And because the ice is melting, there is downward shift, especially the water in the ocean coming down. This helps to rise the level of the sea. The rise in the level of the sea means there is more water available at the coast. If more water is available to the coast, it means water will start flowing over the land. This is a very simple logic. So the disruption in the nature of the climate is now causing a lot of changes in the way weather is being experienced in certain places, including Nigeria. You will discover that the amount of rain we used to receive over a certain period of time, maybe over 3 months or 2 months, now because of the distortion, the volume of the rain will be received over 1 month. Rain that is supposed to start early will not start early. Rain that is supposed to last long will not last long. Period within the rainy season that you are supposed to experience dryness, because even during rainy season, for 1 to 3 days, you go without rain. We call it dry spell. This dry spell is increasing. So because of this, you discover that we in Nigeria, the climate of the country is being massively distorted. More amount of rain is received when it is not supposed to be received. Less amount of rain is received when we are expecting more. And more heat and more dryness is received when we are not expecting it. So because of this, it means a lot of activities are distorted. Because like you know, we are more or less like a peasant agrarian economy. We rely largely on the environment for survival. Either as farmers, tree crop farmers, root crop farmers, cereal crop farmers, fishermen, and so on. So we are relying on weather, we are relying on water, we are relying on land for survival. So as these distortions are taking place, definitely there are disruptions in the economy of the country.
What are some of the patterns that NIMET has noticed over the years? How significant has the change been to the Nigerian environment?
Okay, you see, What is important, especially to farming, is when is the rain starting? We call it the onset. When is it stopping? We call it cessation, when it will cease. And what is the effectiveness of the rain? You know, it is not that rain is falling every day, but how effective is the amount of rain being received vis-a-vis our demand, for instance, as farmers. Do you get the idea? You can receive 2,000 millimeters of rain, but the effective rain that will now be available for crop production may not be more than 1,000 millimeters, for instance. So which means even though you have received much, the effective rain may be less. So part of the problem we are now having is that the onset is now changing massively. Where we used to have early onset, in some places we are now having late onset. This is a very serious problem.
What are the onsets, for instance? Now,
Yeah.
I recall that when I was in, is it primary or secondary school,
Yes.
we were told that the rainy season in Nigeria lasts from between April to October. Well, I studied down
Yes,
south.
exactly.
So
Yes,
maybe that
exactly.
would be, and to a large extent, it was saying that the rainy season has stayed within that range of April to
Yes,
October.
exactly.
So,
Like that I said, it is not when the rain starts that matters. When it effectively starts vis-a-vis crop productivity. That is why we are not concerned with when it is actually starting, but the effective rain. What do you mean by the effective rain? Rain that is effective enough, received over a certain period in order to raise the moisture level of soil so that you can plant. Okay? For instance, rain, you are expecting rain to start April. It can start in March. But when it starts in March, it may not establish effectively enough for you to have enough moisture for you to start planting. So, which means that even though you are sweating in April and it has started in March, the effectiveness of the rain, you have not started feeling it until in April or May. So even though it has started in March, it may not be effective for you. Okay? So the concern is with the effectiveness of the rain.